want to start with a quick story. So who in here plays 2K? Man, where the boys at? Where the boys at? Yeah. Who plays 2K? How many of you guys are actually good at 2K? Me. Well, me personally, I'm like the best 2K player I know. But back when I was a kid, I used to spend too much money on 2K. So if you don't know how 2K works, you get a 60 overall player when you first start. But if you want to make your players 86 overall, you got to spend money on the game. Well, over the years, like 6 years playing it, I spent over $2,000 on 2K. That's a whole lot of money, and I have nothing to show for it. But the reason I tell you that story is why did I do that? Why would I spend that much money on 2K? It's not that big of a deal. But it's because I was obsessed with trying to be the best player on the game. So I want to go to what obsessed means. Let's break down the word obsessed. Obsessed means to preoccupy or fill the mind of someone continually, intrusively, and to a troubling extent. So we're going to look at the story of the Bible that hits all angles of obsession that we all struggle with to some degree. So we're going to jump into the book of Exodus, but before that, I want to give you guys some context of what's going on at this point in time. So there's the Egyptians and there's the Israelites. And the Egyptians have the Israelites enslaved, and they're captured, and like they're being oppressed pretty bad. It was going on for many years, but then all of a sudden there was a guy named Moses, right? And Moses is walking down like this mountainside, right? And then he sees a burning bush. And if that was me, I would not have walked to that burning bush, but for some reason Moses was like, you know what? Let me go check it out. So he goes and checks it out, and God talks to him and tells him, hey, I'm choosing you to go free my people. And Moses is like, nah, God, I can't do that. And God's like, yeah, Moses, go do it. So eventually, after pleading with him, but it's because it's God, Moses goes and does it. So Moses goes, talks to Pharaoh. Pharaoh doesn't want to let him go. But long story short, Pharaoh lets them go. But immediately after he lets them go, he realizes, hey, these Israelites do all the work here, and now nothing's getting done. So he sends his army, the Egyptian army, the biggest army at this time in the world, and he sends them to go, capture the Israelites again and bring them back. But while they were going to go do that, God protected the Israelites with a pillar of fire. Like an actual pillar of fire came down and like disoriented the entire Egyptian army and gave the Israelites a head start. And then after that, they got to the Red Sea. You guys know that story, some of y'all should. Where he parts the Red Sea, the Israelites walk through, the Egyptians try to walk through, and the water crashes on them and they all die, right? But after that, they continue their path to the Promised Land. And on the way there, we're going to stop at Mount Sinai. And that's where our story is going to be at, right? At Mount Sinai. So when they get there, God gives the 10 Commandments to the Israelites and tells them, like, hey, you guys got to do this, do that, right? But after that, Moses goes up to the top with the elders and he tells all the Israel people, like, hey, you guys, me and the boys over here, we're going to go to the top of the mountain. So they take off up there. And at a certain point, God tells Moses, hey, everyone can stay here, but I'm going to need you to go even higher up. So they're up there in that mountain, and they left everybody down there at the base of the mountain for 40 days. For 40 days, they were gone. And that's when something starts to happen down there. So check this out. We're going to jump into Exodus 32, verse 1 through 5. It says, when the people saw how long it was taking Moses to come back down the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, come on, make us some gods who can lead us. But you read that, and it's like, what do you mean a God who can lead us? Did you guys not just forget that God saved y'all with a pillar of fire? He split a sea, and then he shook a whole mountain when he talked to them and gave them those 10 Commandments. Like that, how is that not enough proof for them? But the Israelites felt like Moses was gone for too long. So they took it upon themselves to worship other gods. And that may sound super extreme, like, oh my goodness, why would they worship other gods? But like, we do that all the time, right? We do that with like our phones or other things that we get super obsessed with and addicted to. So, how many of you guys, to be honest with you, when you go to the store with your mom and they'd be like back in the day, you go to Walmart, old school Walmart, right? And your mom's like, hey, wait right here. And you're like, yes, ma'am. Then she walks away, but she's gone for like 10 seconds too long. So then you go head over to the game section and they have like the demo PS4 and you guys play like this. How many of you guys did that? Yeah, there you are. So, but the reason we do that is because we're forgetful, right? But I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why we're forgetful. So we forget things because we want things now. So God has a certain amount of time, or God has his timing, and we have our timing. And we try to look at God and tell him, like, God, you need to work in this certain amount of time that I think is right for me, or else I'm not going to listen to you. And when God doesn't do it, when God doesn't do it in our timing, we think, man, we just forget about him and try to do things on our own. And another reason we're forgetful is because we have a different agenda than God. So God has this whole thing, our whole life planned out on this agenda, right? And we start walking towards it like, man, this is pretty good life, but it gets a little boring. So you start being like, man, I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna start living the way the world wants me to live too. I'm gonna start going to parties, drinking, smoking, doing all these different things that you should be doing because it's not a part of God's plan for your life. And the third reason we're forgetful is because we have an impulse to only think about ourselves. Like, how many of you guys think about yourselves first before anybody else? Man, y'all are liars. I know y'all think about yourselves more than anybody else. But that's another reason why we're forgetful, is because we only think about ourselves. And the title of today's message is The Obsession of Control. That's what we're talking about here today. Whereas last week we talked about doing things for the validation of others, this week we're talking about things that you do on your own time, because we don't like to wait for God's time. So the question for today is, why do I feel like I need to control everything, and where do I think that would lead me? That's the question I want you guys to kind of think about for today. Why do I feel the need to control everything, and where do I think that would lead me? We're going to discuss 3 reasons why we tend to try to control everything and why that will cost us everything. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish what I was reading at Exodus 32, 1-5. We start from the beginning. It says, when the people saw how long it was taking Moses to come back down the mountain, they gathered around Aaron. Come on, they said, make us some gods who can lead us. We don't know what happened to this fellow Moses who brought us here from the land of Egypt. So Aaron said, take the gold rings from your ears of your wives, sons, and daughters and bring them to me. All of the people took the gold rings from their ears and brought them to Aaron. Then Aaron took the gold, melted it down, and molded it into the shape of a calf. When the people saw it, they exclaimed, "O Israel, these are the gods who brought you out of the land of Egypt." Aaron saw how excited the people were, so he built an altar in front of the calf, and then he announced, "Tomorrow will be a festival for the Lord." The audacity, right? They saw God lead them through, escaping from Egypt, the water, the pillar of fire that hit the Egyptians, and they still made a golden calf and started praising this as if this was their God. And that's the craziest thing to me. They did that. But the Israelites built a new God because their God was too slow. So here's the first reason why we try to seize control of everything in our lives, is because time. Reason number 1 is time. And here's something I find very interesting looking back at the book of Exodus, is that there were moments in the book where God moves lightning fast, where he moves in the perfect timing for the people, and things are going good. And in our lives, that looks like when we're at camp, right? Or you go to a Christian convention, or you get good news. Those are times where God feels like he's moving super quick, right? But there are also times where God seems like he's moving. God seems like he's still for months in the book of Exodus. And it's easy and it's cool to trust God in our lives when things are going good, right? But when things start getting bad, that's whenever we start doubting. When God starts moving slow, is when we start doubting and doing our own things. And I'm going to give you guys an example of maybe your own life. It's like you want a boyfriend or girlfriend, but there's no godly guys or girls around you, and you're like, oh man, God, where's all the right people at? But the thing is, you don't realize that God knows that if he gives you that perfect person for you right now, you're just going to mess it up. You're going to mess it up like you did those last 3 relationships that you had. You're gonna cheat on them, or you're gonna lie to them. You're gonna ruin something perfect that God put in your path. So he's telling you, hey, hold up, I need you to mature a little bit before I give you that. But if you do decide, you know what, forget that. I know God's got somebody for me, but I'm just gonna choose this person on my own, and I'm just gonna bring them to church. So I'm gonna make them godly. And that doesn't always end up. That always doesn't end up very well. It doesn't end up working out. You either end up getting pulled down, or after you guys break up, they don't go to church no more. Because when you brought them to church, their foundation wasn't built on God, it was built on you. So by doing that, you could possibly ruin their chance of having a relationship with God ever. Because you brought them to church and made them become a Christian because you were. And that's just not the right thing to do. So, don't force it. I'll say it. Guys, just because God's moving slow doesn't mean he's gone. And the Israelites didn't realize that. So when they felt like God was idle, they decided to create idols. When the Israelites thought that God felt idle, they decided to make an idol. Yeah, that's good, right? Alright, so the age-old question is, so what do you do when God seems to be moving slow? What do you guys think you're supposed to do? Yeah, there you go. You wait on the Lord, right? Isaiah 40:31 says, "But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not grow faint." Now, I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he asked me, what does waiting on the Lord mean? That just means it's sitting still? And the answer is no. You can wait on the Lord while you work. You can wait on the Lord while you look. You can wait on the Lord while you hope. But it doesn't mean that he's going to give it to you. You can be looking for what you want. You can look for that boyfriend or girlfriend if you want to. But if you don't find them, there's no need to force it. It'll come in time. So, yeah, if you want confirmation, if you think that somebody could be the right person for you, ask the people around you. Ask your mom, your dad, your guardians, your mentors, your pastor, ask your friends. Find out what they think, because if you guys go, hey, is this person the right person for me? And people tell you no, then I guarantee they're probably not the right person for you. But if you ask random people, say, yeah, I think that's a good idea, then odds are it's probably going to be a good thing. Go for it. But if you wait on the Lord, He'll renew your strength in the middle of your battle. We try to take control of our lives because of impatience, but also a result of how far we are away from God. So it's going to bring me to my second reason that we try to cling on to, our control is distance. The word says that if we're far from God, we're going to have worldly desires. And if we have worldly desires, it's going to lead to worldly outcomes. So I'm going to give you guys some practical steps to, stay close to God. And the first one is cling to Him. Talk to Him. Pray. And that's literally what you have to do to cling to Him. The second one is cling to His Word. So what does that mean? Just read the Bible. Start a devotion with your life group leader, with your friends. Just do something, or just read a chapter a night. That's all you got to do is cling to His Word, cling to Him. And the last one is cling to the people around you. The ones in your life group leaders. If there's something you're going through, just talk to them. If you're scared to talk in front of your friends, pull your life group leader aside and be like, hey, I'm really struggling with something. Cling to each other, and that's going to make the path of living a Christian life so much easier. I've lived both paths. I've lived the path of being a Christian, of confessing my stuff to people and telling people what I'm struggling with, and I've lived a life of just hiding everything. It's dealing with myself, and I'm telling you guys, the first one is so much better. Talk to people around you, cling to them. That's going to make this walk of being a Christian so much easier. And the last reason that we try to cling on to as much control as possible is pain. We think, man, I've been hurt way too many times to let somebody else take control of my life. And I've been there too. I've been at the point where I've been hurt, God's really not working out for me. But trust me, I've been there and I've seen it. Don't just turn away from God. He died for that hurt, He died for that pain. And He died so that you could have peace in your hearts. Yeah. But you know what you do to attain that peace? You gotta give up that control. That control you're still holding on to, man, I can do what I want in my life. You have to give it up to God. If you really want peace in your heart, you gotta give that up. Because when we get hurt and we try to take control, we try to take control of our situation when we're hurt, we tend to do things that end up hurting us even more. We self-medicate. I don't know what that means. We self-harm. You may think, man, I don't struggle with self-harm, but you know the person around you does. I guarantee there's at least one person in this room that struggles with something like that. And I'm telling you, that's not the right way. Trust me that the love of God feels so much better than anything else that you can try and do. The third thing we do is we give up. Maybe you're at the point where you're like, man, my life sucks and I'm ready to just give up. But luckily, there's a God who's there for you and whose love surpasses all understanding. And another thing we do, we try to take control of our life and ends up hurting us even more, is we hurt others. Maybe you're a dude and you're like, man, I got hurt by one girl, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna hurt every single other girl that I come in contact with. Or maybe you're one of the guys that's you don't look at girls as other human beings, you look at girls as just an object or something just to have for one night. And you end up hurting them just because you got hurt by that one person. That's not the route you need to take either. And don't get me wrong, sometimes there are people who boss up and they're like, man, I do this on my own, I don't need nobody, I got my racks up, my money up, and they just give themselves all the glory, but trust me, that hurt they have inside is not gone. The hurt they have inside is just pushed down even further. That's right. So, deal with it now before it's too late. Because if you push that down and you wait till you're older, that hurts you even 10 times worse. At some point, it's got to come out. So whether it's time or distance or maybe just hurt you can't get past, don't let control hold you from receiving the gift that God has for you. And just watch how your life is transformed. I have one more scripture to leave you guys with. It's 1 John 2:15-17. And it says, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride of possessions, is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires. But whoever does the will of God abides forever. Have this mind among yourself, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Let me tell you guys this. Jesus gave up the ultimate control of dying on the cross and giving his life for you. Just so that you can have the chance to be connected to you. Not that he knew, Noah's gonna accept me one day, so I'm gonna die on this cross. No, he died on the cross, that way Noah can have the chance and the opportunity and the choice to be able to be connected back to him. So don't hold on to your control and give him your life. And if that's you right now and you want to have that opportunity to give up that control in your life and follow Christ, because we can't handle that hurt and everything on our own. I want to take you guys back all the way in time, back to Genesis 1:1, when God created the earth. He created the earth and he created man and woman.